So here's an A-level revision video for Media Studies, Eduqas, Component 1, Section A, and this is for the music video Formation by Beyoncé. The areas we're going to cover in this one are media language and representation. These are the questions that could come up at the start of your paper. So you may get a 15 marker or a 30 marker on this particular music video. You may have to analyse it by itself, or you may have to compare it with a music video that you haven't seen before in the exam. There is just so much to cover in this music video. I will try and cover as much as I can. However, I might miss some bits because there is just so much in there. So let's start off with some media language then. Okay, so first of all, what genre is this music video? In terms of the music, we would suggest it's an R&B music video. In terms of some of the conventions that we would normally see in an R&B music video, there are some present in this video as well. If we think about the shots of Beyoncé dancing with her backing dancers, often dressed in quite tightly fit, scantily clad dresses or costumes, should I say. We do see the kind of lip syncing which we would normally find in an R&B music video. We do see mainly African Americans in this particular video as well. In fact, I think it's all African Americans apart from the police in this particular video, which is done for a reason. So there are some conventions of an R&B music video. However, there is lots about it that's definitely unconventional as well, because Beyoncé is trying to make many political statements in this video and is really sort of tapping into the zeitgeist of sort of the past 10 years in America about African American communities. So there's various different themes that come about and are sort of juxtaposed with the normal conventions of music videos. So I'll just go through some of those things now. So we're seeing images that make reference to Hurricane Katrina. So during that particular hurricane, which devastated various parts of New Orleans, it was seen that the black communities in New Orleans were forgotten by the American government, and there was lots of very negative press about that at the time, and the communities that were devastated by it and forgotten about. And this is really sort of Beyoncé saying, this is who I am, I'm an African American, I'm part of these kind of communities, and we matter, and this is what we are all about. There's also references to a time when there would have been slaves, and we see sort of these antebellum images and iconography. But however, rather than seeing black people as the slaves in these particular houses, we see black people own these houses, having sort of ladies in waiting, if you like, dressed in fine clothes, as sort of claiming these properties for themselves, rather than being slaves to big white plantation owners. So it's, when I say big white, I don't mean that the people are big, I mean that they own lots of land and they're very powerful. So we see black people in positions of power here. So really sort of targeting the history of black America and making a political statement and saying that this is my identity, this is who we are, we can be powerful too. There's other references as well to police brutality in America. We see on the news time and time again that sort of there's a conflict between the idea that white policemen are shooting black youths, and then the black community will then sort of rise up and say this isn't right. And this is made reference to in the video as well, with a very particular shot at the end where we see a young kid dancing around in front of a police lineup, and then the police put their hands up. So again, making a real political statement. In sort of seeing these references to historical events or things that are going on in the black community, Beyoncé is targeting an audience specifically, and that audience is African Americans who will recognise these references. There's other references that are stereotypical, claiming stereotypes from the South of America and for black people, such as her having hot sauce in her bag, swag.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
And eating collard greens and being in a wig shop. Those are stereotypes that are used, but here we have Beyoncé saying, yeah, these are the stereotypes that I have, and we're proud of them.
I like cornbread and collard greens, bitch. Oh yes, you best to believe it.
So it is targeting that specific audience. We're going to pick up on those references. However, you could say there's a secondary audience here as well of a more mainstream audience who she wants to tell this message to for change, to represent black people in a positive and powerful way. This video is also about female empowerment. So we hear Beyoncé say many times, ladies, let's get in formation. There's very many images of ladies dancing together, sometimes provocatively, sometimes just sort of in unison with each other to make a point, in various different locations, some that you would associate with an R&B music video, some that you actually wouldn't. There's really interesting dances in the car park, and how that is shot is through the use of sort of like a low resolution camera. To me, it sort of has references to police footage, which could be from, let's say, a police helicopter. There's lots of high angle shots there, to CCTV footage or footage you might see on the news of a crime. Perhaps that's the point that she's making. It really is for you to make up your own judgments about that, really, but make sure that you notice the different sort of style when we see these images, because they're done for a reason. Everything's done for a reason, as you know, in media studies. There's other ideas in here about bounce music, which comes from a certain part of America and is sort of equated to the LGBTQ community. We do see lots of references to this bounce genre. We even see a bounce artist, or hear a bounce artist, in the video, Big Frida.
This Big Frida the Queen Diva, and I am here to show y'all how to dance to my latest single, Rent. Bounce music is up-tempo, heavy bass, call and response type music. It is definitely straight from New Orleans.
Who is then sort of talking about the stereotypes of that part of America.
I like cornbread and collard greens, bitch.
Another thing to consider is this a postmodern music video? Perhaps it is. I think it probably is. You see here images that we reference to the past, intertextual images perhaps as well, especially using sort of real footage from the Hurricane Katrina. So that use of intertextuality and the juxtaposition of that and these other sort of images of the past mixed with something which is quite new, I would say it definitely sort of is a postmodern text. However, is it simulacra? Are we seeing a copy of a copy? Or are we or is she purposefully trying to create something new for her fan base and for a mainstream audience? There is lots to consider here in terms of representation, of females, in terms of representation of African Americans. Here you could discuss post-colonial theory. However, if you look at the representations here, I'd say this is because of the ideas of post-colonial theory, because we've seen sort of underrepresentation of black people, or black people in marginalised roles in different representations. Here we see a complete subversion of that. So we see Beyoncé trying to subvert those ideas and actually say this is representations of black identity and a powerful black identity. So if you're going to write about post-colonial theory, you could say, well, this video subverts those ideas and represents black people in a powerful and positive light in many of the different representations within the video. However, if you think about the ideas of otherness in Gilroy's theory, here we have Beyoncé saying, yes, we are seen as being other, and these are our qualities, this is what we're all about. So it's a sort of an acceptance of those ideas of otherness, and then sort of reinforcing identity of black people and saying some of those stereotypes that we are associated with, we are really proud of. In terms of representations of females and the idea of feminism, this is definitely sort of a pro-feminist video in the ideas behind it. And she's saying, ladies, let's get in formation. We've got women represented in powerful roles. You could say that some of Van Zoonen's ideas, in terms of her saying that change and gender is a result of discourse through the media, well, are we then seeing a change of ideas through Beyoncé's representations, which are then going to be communicated to the audience? So in writing about Van Zoonen, it kind of supports some of her ideas to do with the media being an avenue for change, in that Beyoncé is trying to change the perception of women in through using the media. However, it also goes against some of the things that Van Zoonen says about traditional gender stereotypes, which are often seen in Western patriarchal society, where women are objectified and men's bodies are seen as being spectacle. Here, I think we still definitely do see women's bodies being objectified. And there's a fine line between that. You know, there's a real debate to be had in that, is this video looking at feminism where women are equal to men on every single footing, they can be powerful? I mean, there's a bit in the video where Beyoncé talks about rewarding her husband for performing sexually by taking him to a fast food restaurant. So is this Beyoncé saying that she is more powerful than a man? Is she saying that women are just as powerful as men? However, she's still using her body quite in a sexually objectified way in part of the video as well. So she's saying that actually women need to be able to do that and be proud of their bodies, and that's also a different kind of feminism in thinking that women should be able to use what they have to be able to then sort of gain some sort of power. So it's a real debate to be had, and one that you guys need to sort of be able to write about in your exam, using your own opinion. This also links to Bell Hooks' ideas, which she says lighter-skinned people are often favoured in Western society, and the media helps to communicate those ideas. Here we see Beyoncé with a cast full of sort of various different shades, if you like, of African Americans, but in sort of putting that beauty at the forefront. So kind of going against those ideas of bell hooks. So all sorts to write about, really. Lots of things that I've missed out. I've missed out talking about the carnival outfits and the stereotypes of sort of New Orleans. I've missed out on talking about the religious side of things. So there's images in a church situation, which again is synonymous with that part of America. I haven't said what a Bama is. A Bama, she calls herself a Texas Bama.
Mama Louisiana, you mix that Negro with that Creole, make a Texas Bama.
That term Bama comes from people who were seen to be living in Alabama in a state of, let's say, quite a lot of poverty. They're moving to bigger cities to get a better life for themselves, were often called a Bama. And sometimes that seems quite a negative term. So here we see Beyoncé really trying to produce a video about identity and saying, yeah, this is who I am, taking those negative stereotypes and trying to put then a positive spin on things. And that's what this video is all about, taking those negative things of the past, whether it be stereotypes, historical context, and then making it into something which is more positive and more powerful within our current society, and definitely making political statements which you guys need to be able to write about. You need to be writing about feminism, you need to be writing about racism, need to be writing about historical contexts within the video, and you need to give your own opinions about some of the theories we've looked at, where actually it's not so easily analysed within this particular video. So I look forward to hearing your ideas come exam time.